Good Thursday afternoon to you. It's 4 o'clock and time for Sports for CLE. Hope you're having a good day. Thanks for joining us. Browns back out on the practice field in Berea, getting ready for the Seahawks. 4 o'clock in Seattle Sunday afternoon. Deshaun Watson met with the media on speculation that he wants out of Cleveland. That was national, as well as a lot of people thinking he doesn't want to play.
I wouldn't ever want to play. I just worked my ass off for 2 years to get back to playing. So why wouldn't I want to play? This is what I've been doing since I was 6 years old. So why wouldn't I want to play? I see the same things. I see all the narratives, this, that, the third. I mean, all that stuff is just trying to cause controversy and commotion. You know, I'm fine. I'm happy. I'm not happy with the injury, but you know, I'm in a great space mentally. I'm in a great space spiritually. Physically, everything else is in a great space except my shoulder. So we're working hard to get that back. But yeah, why wouldn't I want to play? I don't do this for no other reason. So yeah, I see that too. I see the whole contract situation and all that stuff. Yeah, that stuff is just for people to talk and just create narratives. So
someone tried to speculate that you might not even want to play for the Browns. Like you might be looking for somewhere else to go.
Why would I do that?
I'm not saying it. I'm just saying that's just someone national. You know, like threw that out there.
I mean, none of those national people know me. They don't talk to me. So why would anybody listen to any of that stuff? All that is speculation. So if it ain't coming from me, then all that other shit is bullshit. So.
With that, let's welcome in Quincy Carrier, Untitled, Unfiltered Browns coverage. Quincy, it sounds like a guy who's sick of being questioned about why he's not playing. It's because his throwing shoulder's hurt.
What a wonderful week to be a Browns fan, right? Like this is just, honestly, we're veterans at this. Yeah, look, we just don't know, man. Like, we don't know what's going to go on with him. We don't know when he's coming back. It's just one of those injuries. It's difficult to timetable. We'll see when he comes back. And I think, you know, for the Browns' sake, you just have to assume that, not that he's going to be out for the whole year, but, you know, assume that you might need a strong plan B. Whatever that plan B may be, just assume that you need to pivot to that, because this is an injury to where, you know, it doesn't really happen that much in football, and there's not really a game plan there for it. And it seems like something that they're going to be extra cautious with. So it's not like you could just say, we're going to throw Deshaun out there for 4 weeks. He's going to be rock solid. Even once you get him out there to play football again, you know, it's going to be a monitor situation. So you just got to, if you're Kevin Stefanski, if you're this Cleveland Browns organization, figure out a solid plan B. Okay, we don't got Deshaun. What are we going to do? And what do we need if we don't have Deshaun to be reliably out there for the rest of the year? But that's really all they got to do there. As far as Deshaun, all the speculation, you know, the best thing he could do is kind of just put his head down and get through it, you know, because if he comes back and he plays well, this will be a hilarious memory. But, you know, it's going to be determined on that, what the narratives are going to be at the end of the day.
So also some news and notes from practice today. Jedrick Wills, foot and an ankle, not practicing. We knew Watson and Ford wouldn't be practicing. Taki also not out there, along with Marquise Goodwin. They're both on the side. Hunt and Njoku back practicing. So those are all things to monitor as it goes along. And again, Jedrick Wills not practicing. Jedrick Wills has played pretty well the last couple of weeks, I thought.
2 good weeks of Jed Wills. And I think Jed's problems get kind of, look, they played 3 division opponents early in this season. And I think his problems can kind of get magnified against division opponents because of the familiarity that they have with them. And it's up to him to fix those things once he gets those guys the next round. But yeah, Jed's been fine. You know, he had a rough start to the year. He's always been a streaky up and down kind of player. And now we're seeing the other side of that. And I think he's really been playing well. I wouldn't expect him to be this good for the rest of the year, but I think, you know, you're always going to get these ups and downs with Jed Wills. And now you're getting the ups. It's easy to assume when he's down, it's always going to be down. But yeah, he's on the up track now.
All right. So Deshaun Watson talked about playing last week as well as when he might be able to play again earlier today.
You know, I just didn't have the strength and things like that to be able to go out there and play a full, complete game. So, you know, the medical staff, Kevin, you know, decided to, you know, hold me out so I don't, you know, do anything worse to it. So.
When are you hoping to play again?
I mean, as soon as possible. As soon as possible. So, we just got to go, through the process again and rehab and get back with the docs and try to strengthen it as much as possible and get the pain away and try to get back on the field as soon as
So
possible.
do you think playing last week set you back in your recovery?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it did or if it didn't. At the same time, I wasn't 100% last week. So, I just try to, like I said before, go through the game, go through the process of see if I can make the throws, make the plays. I thought I was ready, wasn't ready. And, at the time, I took a hit, took a blow right to the same area. Once I hit the turf on that last play, I guess, that I was laying down. Same situation. Boom, hit that. So it was a little shock, and it possibly could be. So I'm not sure.
And again, what Quincy, he didn't look like he was ready to play. You could tell almost immediately just by the way it was thrown. I don't think you can plan on, well, it's going to be 2 weeks. It's going to have to be, this guy has to be able to throw the ball.
Well, I think we talk about it as a baseball injury, right? Where you have these rotator cuffs and that usually pops up more in baseball. And in baseball, you have the ability to kind of send guys down to the minors so they could throw with game adrenaline. And the issue with this whole injury and the rehab process with Deshaun Watson right now is there is no way for him to get that game adrenaline to really see if he can launch off the football like he wants to. And I think he realized that when he tried to throw the ball rolling out the pocket on the play that was an interception, but then they called it, the guy didn't catch the ball cleanly, so it wasn't an interception. But his last play out there, you can see he tries to rip that thing up to the second level to DPJ, and he just ain't had it. Like, he just did not have the ability to rip it like he usually can. And that's something you don't find out in practice because you're not throwing 100% in practice. Even 100% in practice isn't really 100% like it is on the game, because when you're having guys barrel in on you, you tend to throw the football just a little bit harder, right? A little bit more adrenaline kicking in there. So it's hard to gauge from practice whether he feels like he's going to be ready. And I wonder if this is going to lead us to do some very unconventional things to figure it out. And again, if this were baseball, the context of this injury would be more understood because we see it. But this might be a thing where we're like, hey, we might see Deshaun Watson for like 2 drives, like it's the preseason, to see if he can rip off of it, and then we'll pull him out or whatever it is. They just have to see what that game speed is going to look like. And I think they took him out there, seeing if that game speed would be there for him. He tried to rip it. It didn't look good on that one throw. Now, again, that's one throw. I don't think he was really tested on any of the other throws. The interception that he threw early in the game, that was just a great play by that safety. I don't think that was on Deshaun's throw itself, but that one throw is like, okay, if you had more evidence of that, you would feel a lot better about saying that's where the direction of things are. But based on that, and it's very limited that I could pull from, yeah, you can see that he couldn't pull through on it. And it's going to be a while till you can figure out whether he could throw in the game. Like, again, feeling good in practice is one thing. Feeling good about throwing in the game, that's something else, man.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about defense. Defense against Colts was really good in a different way. So you gave up a bunch of yards, but you got some turnovers. What did you take away from the defensive performance against the Indianapolis Colts?
So last week, I referred to the game against the 49ers as a game where the supporting staff on the defense scored a bunch of points, so only LeBron had to get like 20 and 10, right? He just had to have a normal day. Yet Sunday was a game where LeBron needed to get 50, 30, and 10, right? Like, it was one of those Bron games where it was like, okay, y'all not making shots, I got to do it. And that's what you had to do with Miles and Denzel Ward. Look, we have great role players on this defense, guys that I call accessories to murder, right? That are able to be there and be in the right spots. But sometimes your role players do not play well, and it's up to your star players to have dominating performances. And what this Browns defense has is those star players who, look, hey, the whole team's not playing well, but you are capable of having some great individual performances. Myles Garrett has the game of the century versus the Colts. Denzel Ward plays a really nice game there, gets another turnover. And people were talking about how great Gardner Minshew was playing in that game. He was responsible for, I think, about 4 or 5 turnovers in that game. Like, that's what that individual effort on defense was able to get you when the rest of the team wasn't going well. So that's what this defense has going for, and that's what all the great defenses have, right? There's a lot of defenses that play well, but if they not playing well as a unit, there's nobody who could rise above the occasion and make sure that you make plays on the defense. A great defense, like the ones that we've been comparing the Browns to, okay, things aren't going well, Deuce ain't in the right spot, we still got Ray, right, to figure out a play to be made. Well, the Browns defense has, okay, Greg ain't in the right spot, Juan got out of place, we still got Miles. And that's the kind of defense that they are.
All right, take a look at this. How often and how fast defenses have generated pressure this season in graphic form? This is on non-blitzes. X-axis, time to pressure. Y-axis, pressure percentage. The Browns are like way above everybody else. That kind of shows you how good. You see the Cowboys are up above a little bit even more. But the Browns defense, elite in terms of time to pressure and the percentage of pressure as well. So graphically, that just shows you that Jim Schwartz, this defense is doing what Jim Schwartz wants it to do.
Yeah, and I wonder if Jim Schwartz makes an adjustment because sometimes he'll leave more guys on the line to ensure pressure and blitz instead of leaving more guys in the secondary. And I think as good as the secondary is, you have Myles Garrett on that defensive line. So I think you could get away with sending 4, maybe 5, and letting the numbers be your advantage in the back end. Because when we have seen cracks in this defense, it's been in the secondary. So I think, we should take it the next step and make sure that we put this defense as a unit in the best position to be successful. But yeah, that's Jim Schwartz doing a great job. Still some things he can do to make this defense better, and I think he's on the track to doing it. So I don't even think you've seen the best football from this unit.
Well, a couple of things that were kind of glaring. Twice Browns were whistled for offsides, and they kind of quit on the play, and it came back to bite them. Schwartz was asked about finishing plays after offsides has been called on the defense.
We've had a couple plays this year, early in the game against San Fran, and these two plays where, we jump off sides and then we don't finish the play, whether it's in the back end or up front. And, our message is, we don't necessarily need to try to get back, just go shut the play down, just keep on going and shut the play down. So that we don't put our corners in that position to have to go play those balls where the offense has license. So, we're a get-off team, we're an attack team. There's a bit of cost to doing business with that, with offside. We don't want to be offsides in critical situations like backed up or third down and short or 2-minute and things like that. But there's going to be some times where we're going to be offsides, but we can't allow them to turn. They need to be 5-yard plays, not 55 or 80-yard plays or whatever we've given up. But that's definitely something that's on our radar, and something that we need to address and improve. We already have addressed it, but we need to do it on the field. The first step is don't be offside. The second step is either shut the play down or do a better job of finishing the play.
And again, that's exactly the messaging you would expect from the defensive coordinator about that.
Yeah, you just don't want them to just finish the play out, right? And I don't know why that happens. Maybe they're used to plays being called dead, or maybe it's just an early season reflex because it's like in practice, whenever they call a play dead, it stops guys. But yeah, they got to play through the whistle and make sure that those kind of mistakes don't happen. And I thought that this week there were a lot of mental errors that were made. And I thought it was kind of predictable given how high they were after their win versus San Francisco. A little bit of a letdown was kind of inevitable, even for good defenses or great defenses. I think these letdowns are inevitable. So yeah, it's just about playing through, not having those mental errors. And if you look at the Browns' lack of execution in zone, I think you can easily point to just mental errors, right? That's been the Achilles heel of these guys that have been on this secondary for a very long time, through Joe Woods, and now we're even seeing it a little in Jim Schwartz. It's just those small mental errors. When you have to sit back and think about what you're doing, that's when this Browns defense ends up getting in trouble. So they got to figure out why that's happening. They got to figure out the communication and everything. They have to be a more solid zone team than they've been in the past, and I think that they're learning that lesson right now. Hopefully they'll just get better as the season goes on.
Quincy Carrier from Untitled Unfiltered Browns coverage now. I'm going to step aside, take a quick time out. We head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason when we return.
This is the 50, 100, 500 scratch-off from the Ohio Lottery, a much cleaner way of winning. We precision-crafted 3 perfect increments of cash, $50, $100, and $500, and created the only game that pays exclusively in those increments, hence the clever name. 50, 100, 500. Ideal quantities for dining foods, clothing wear, or stereophonics. The simplicity is breathtaking. Play 50, 100, 500, and transform how you feel about winning.
We continue talking Browns here on Sports4CLE with Quincy Carrier from Untitled Unfiltered Browns coverage. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hey there, just calling in the wake of Browns announcing PJ is going to start on Sunday versus the Seahawks. Just a little confused as to why Deshaun was even out there versus the Colts. With all that being said, I think it's the smartest thing for the Browns to basically sit him until at Ravens, and then you got Steelers the following week. So 2 really key divisional games coming up. Got Seahawks and Cardinals. You know, not trying to overlook anyone, obviously. They're likely to drop one of those games without starting quarterback and running back now. Like, it's a totally different offense than it was at the beginning of the year. That being said, you got to prioritize these divisional games. And lastly, I just wanted to mention that I think the most valuable signing Andrew Berry has made in the past few years, maybe, has been Dustin Hopkins. He's probably my pick for team MVP right now. Miles is having a great year, possible defensive player of the year candidate, but Dustin Hopkins is jumping off the charts, going above and beyond my expectations, and the reason probably that we are 4-2 right now. Thank you guys for what you do. Hope the Browns win on Sunday. Go Browns.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Quincy, I don't think you can, we talked about it a little bit earlier, I don't think you can put a timeline with, you know, we need Deshaun back you need Deshaun back when he can throw the football at an acceptable level, and I don't think that clearly wasn't it last week. Hopkins has been a really good acquisition.
Yeah, Hopkins has been great. I mean, we're asking way too much of him. He keeps coming through. It's going to be a tough one this week, right? Outdoors in Seattle. We know the windy conditions, how crazy that stadium can get, how loud that stadium can get. So we're going to ask a lot of them this week as well if the Browns want to get out there with the victory. And I'll be one of the few people that will defend Deshaun Watson being out there against the Colts, because part of what the wild card is with this shoulder injury is that it's not something that you could determine whether he's ready for or not in practice. Like, he has to throw with game speed, and you're not going to get that unless he's in a game. Again, like when you're talking about pitchers who deal with this injury, you send guys to minor league baseball to throw so they can get that adrenaline and really try to rip one. And even then, it's a gradual buildup. So I think, like, if it weren't for the nature of football being such a physical sport, if there were a way to give him those reps, you would want to, but you're not going to really know if Deshaun Watson's ready to come back or not until he plays in a game and is a lot and throws the ball with the intentions he would in a regular season game. And you're just not going to get that if he's just practicing. So I don't think that this is an injury that you could just straight up diagnose like a regular knee injury or a regular ankle injury with practice. This is his throwing shoulder. This is about the ability to drive off the ball. And this is going to require that, you know, you have to play him and then see what he's doing. And then if it doesn't look good in the first 5 or 10 attempts, you got to take him out. Like, I don't think what we saw against the Colts is going to be the first time that we see that. And that's because I think that's kind of just what they have to do to determine whether he can play or not. He has to play. And then you have to see how it goes, and then you make your determination after how it goes. So I will defend that way of going about it because, again, this is just a rare injury. We don't really see that much in football, and I think that it's going to be handled differently.
So this is an illustration of just how good Dustin Hopkins has been. 7 of 7 on kicks from 50-plus yards this season. Set an NFL record Sunday by being the first kicker to convert a 50-plus yard field goal in 5 consecutive games in a single season. I didn't realize that. That's remarkable. And keep in mind, Quincy, the knock on him was he didn't make long field goals, or the MO was, he's really good on those 40 to 45s. If you get up to 50, it's kind of iffy. He's just set an NFL record.
Yeah, he's having the run of his career right now. I will urge Browns fans that, hey, man, one day he's going to miss a couple kicks. We got to give him grace because he's been incredible. Like, he might come back to earth. It's okay. Like, we needed what he gave us so far. But, yeah, he's been incredible, incredible throughout the first 6 weeks of the season.
All right, I know you've addressed this on your show Untitled Unfiltered. You think Andrew Berry's a top 5 GM in the NFL?
Look, I would say this. The Browns look a lot more like the people we always compare them to than the team that they've been pre-2018, right? You look at this roster, and Dave, I think the key reason why this is a team that can win through all of this circumstance and win through everything not going well is because you look at this roster and how many of these guys have been on the same team since 2018 with each other. Right? Like, that isn't what we used to have. If you covered this team, watched this team before 2018, it was always like, oh, these guys have been playing with each other 2-3 years max, right? Now you have guys who've been on the team for 5, 6, 7 years who know, okay, when this is going wrong, I need to do this. When this goes bad, I need to do this, step up here and here. And you just have a bunch of guys on this team that can step up. Amari Cooper steps up big against San Francisco. Elijah Moore stepped up massive in this fourth quarter. Even P.J. Walker stepped up, made a great throw on 3rd and 9. This is a team that when their back's against the wall, they find a way to respond, and that's something that you have to give Andrew Berry a ton of credit for, as well as Kevin Stefanski. And if you look at what he's been able to do these last 2 drafts, you get Martin Emerson, who, if I told you got Martin Emerson or Jordan Davis, you'd be much happier with Martin Emerson in the first round. So that's a first-round quality player you got in the 3rd round. And if I told you, Dave, hey, you got to have Jahmyr Gibbs or DeJuan Jones, who would you rather have? Rather have DeJuan Jones, right? So, look, you lost those first-round picks by trading for Watson, but you've gotten them back. That's elite GMing right there, right? Like, you're not even missing those first-round picks from trading Watson because of the talent you've been able to get in the 3rd and 4th round from this team. And Elijah Moore, somebody you traded a 2nd-round pick for and then got a 3rd-round pick in Cedric Tillman in. And we'll see what he develops into. But there is a lot of things to believe. The Amari Cooper trade as well. That was an Andrew Berry move. There's a lot of things to believe that this is a really good GM. He knows how to maneuver things. And whether this thing goes right or wrong with Watson, I think they're still in a good position to be a good team no matter what happens. And that's just great structuring from this GM.
So, again, I know you've addressed this. Frustrating things about the 4-2 Browns. Some things you look at and you just kind of go, huh.
Oh, yeah. I mean, all the frustration comes from the uncertainty at quarterback, right? Like, if you just felt more certain about this, we would be over the moon, through the moon, talking about Super Bowl time, right? But since we're so uncertain at the quarterback position and we know how important that position is, it causes us a little bit of hesitation. And I think that's just been the most frustrating thing. It seems like every time this team is ready to take off and go to the proverbial moon, there's something stopping us from getting that excited, and it's usually around the quarterback position, and this is where they're at. I think it's just been frustrating how long it's taken us to figure out what's going on. We're not even at a consensus yet within the fan base or within like the media in general on what the actual injury is, and it's been 5 weeks he's been out. Like, this has not been a fun time or frustration-free time. And I think that has been the one wet blanket that you could say for a 4-2 season.
Quincy Carrier and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break. Trade deadline in the NFL is Tuesday. A little trade talk. Sports4CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns with Quincy Carrier from Untitled Unfiltered Browns coverage. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
This is Guitar Chic from Parma, and I'm calling about the backup quarterback situation. Marcus Mariota of the Philadelphia Eagles, if there's any way possible they could pry him away, I think he would be an ideal backup. Please, Andrew Berry, right now this season rests at your doorstep. You've got to do something that you should have done in the summer instead of letting us ride with DTR. That was a mistake. He's not ready, and PJ, nobody wants to see him anymore. God bless him, but he's just not good enough. Please, we don't know how long Deshaun down. Please get a backup veteran. Thank you. Blessings, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. Quincy, Mariota's a guy I didn't really think of. I kind of think they probably do need to find an upgrade. I would prefer it be somebody that has been in Stefanski's system. You know, Case Keenum was brought up, Brissett.
Name. Only name on that list that even sounds appealing is Jacoby Brissett. Like, Case Keenum is old and he wasn't good when he was here. Nah. Like, look, Marcus Mariota, like, I understand that these are names that you feel more familiar with and that you feel better about. But go look at Marcus Mariota's numbers in Atlanta. That's not a quarterback who's going to win you very many football games or even be better than what P.J. Walker is giving you right now. Like, I honestly think I understand P.J. ain't look great, but we usually give quarterbacks credit for being able to win games. He's been 2-0 when he's played the majority of snaps at quarterback this year. And when he's played over 15 pass attempts, he is 6-2 in his career. So he does find a way to make those plays at the end of the game. And I think a lot of people are sleeping on that. And also, I wouldn't be too low on DTR because there was a reason they made him the backup in the first place. Now, did he get thrown into a position to where he was unfamiliar? Yes. Did he not look good? Yes. But look, I'll put it like this. If you got thrown into a spot at your job for the first time and you think you're prepared and then you do it and you're kind of unexpected to do it, you're probably not going to have the greatest day at work, no matter who you are. That does not define who you are. I'm pretty sure me and Dave's first time being live, it didn't look great once we had to run the show by ourselves, right? You know, but we had to figure it out because you don't know what you're not prepared for when you ain't done it before. And that's what DTR, the situation that he was in. So I think it's hard to just judge what you have in him. And honestly, like we were talking about Marcus Mariota, Case Keenum, having PJ Walker and DTR is as good, if not better than that, right? Like I don't think they should just make a move to make a move's sake. Jacoby Brissett is really the only name that I've heard. I'm like, yeah, you would be better with Jacoby Brissett than you are going with PJ or trying out DTR again. But other than that, like, you know, I wouldn't be too high on Marcus Mariota. We saw what Carson Wentz was like last year. That wasn't great. Like, you know, I've seen Andy Dalton. Like, who wants that? Like, they're old and they're bad. Like, it's not good. And you can think what you want about PJ. He's found a way to win these last 2 weeks. And he's made big plays in those wins. You can't deny that. Has he made some bad plays in those wins? Absolutely. But he PJ Walker. We expect that. The good plays are what you got to take from him.
All right, this is from CBS Sports. What each team should do at the NFL trade deadline. For the Browns, they say stand pat. Cowboys, Chargers, Steelers, Browns are teams that already have solid rosters, just need to play to their talent level to put themselves in contention. On the backside of that, we'll go with 4 trade ideas for the Browns. This from Dog Pound Daily. Number 4. They say wide receiver Courtland Sutton from the Broncos, and they say trade DPJ and a day 2 pick for him. Number 3, Chase Young, edge rusher from the Commanders, at least a second-round pick. Number 2, Taylor Heineke, quarterback Falcons, 4th or 5th-round pick. And number 1, they say Derrick Henry, running back Titans, 3rd-round pick, and they say and perhaps more. All right, so there are your options. Stan Pat, Courtland Sutton, Chase Young, Taylor Heineke, Derrick Henry. Are you biting on any of them?
I don't think, again, I'm not like a huge Taylor Heineke guy.
What are some of the targets that you think of then? Some of the trade deadline targets you think Andrew Berry might be looking at?
Yeah, guys like Ezra Cleveland. He's a guard right now for the Minnesota Vikings, but he's also somebody who has potential to flip to tackle. Guys like I mentioned DeAndre Hopkins. The reason I want DeAndre Hopkins is he's a safety blanket type player, right? When Deshaun Watson has to break the pocket and make a throw, DeAndre Hopkins was always who he looked for because he's always been that kind of safety blanket player. He thrives in that kind of a play style. Both PJ and Deshaun, and if you go to DTR, they're going to need somebody like that. And also, just for Deshaun's sake, look, you're walking into a situation that, let's say he gets healthy, best case scenario 2 weeks, Dave. Let's just assume it's 6 weeks to a month. That means he's going to have, 4 or 5 games to get ready for the postseason if the Browns are in a position to do that. And in that kind of situation, you want to surround Deshaun Watson with as much familiarity as possible to help that curve be is to help get rid of the steepness of that curve as much as possible. And having a familiar face and familiar player like D-Hop there will be something that can help them and help anybody else who has to play quarterback this year.
All right, one more. This one, which teams will trade for Davante Adams if he is traded? These are the odds for that via Bet Online. They say the Bills are the favorite, plus 400, Lions and Titans, plus 500. Giants and the Browns at plus 600. If the Raiders decide they're going to move on, they've said they're not going to. We'll see. If they decide to move on from Davante Adams, that's somebody that interests you.
I mean, who wouldn't be interested in Davante Adams? The question is can you make it happen if you can? And with the uncertainty at quarterback, is this the year you want to make a giant move like that at wide receiver? I can see both arguments, right? The argument for it would be, hey, you don't know who's playing quarterback. Get the best wide receivers you can possible in that situation, and you'll feel really good about it. The other thing is like, hey, man, do we really want to spend all this money for a wide receiver for a guy if we have quarterbacks at the position who can't utilize them? It's a real question. But I mean, like, if he wants to come here and you can get him, yeah, sure, why not? I'm not gonna say no to Davante Adams. Like, that's ridiculous. You just get the good player. Like, he's too good to say no to.
Quincy Carrier and I are going to step aside, take one more time out. Other side of the break, we get a little more focused on the Browns facing the Seahawks Sunday at 4. Sports4CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program is dedicated to recognizing exceptional students, teachers, and schools throughout Ohio. Scan the QR code on screen to nominate students and teachers as Academic All-Stars and Teachers of the Month. They must be currently enrolled or teach in grades K through 12. Is your K through 12 school developing students' literacy skills to achieve success in reading? If so, you can nominate your school for the School of the Year. Students can win $100, teachers can win $500, and schools can win $2,500. Scan the QR code, fill out the forms, and nominate deserving students, teachers, and schools today. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program takes pride in honoring exceptional students, teachers, and schools across Ohio. Submit your nomination today. It's fun, fast, and free. We continue talking Browns with Quincy Carrier from Untitled Unfiltered Browns coverage. Browns defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz talked about Geno Smith, quarterback of the Seahawks, and what he has seen from him.
I see a veteran player that's sort of survived some of the bumps of some early setbacks. I think he's an inspiration to a lot of players that don't have immediate success. But his stick-to-itiveness, his ability to keep working persevere and obviously improve have shown these last couple years. I remember having a conversation with him after a game he was playing with the Jets, and he was a backup and hadn't played. And, I told him, I said, look, eventually you're going to get another chance, make sure you're ready for it. And because I had played him a couple times early in his career.
And again, Jim Schwartz talking about Geno Smith and Quincy. That's it's a guy he's kind of been all over the place. There are times where he gets sped up and kind of turns the ball over, and then there are times where he makes really good plays from the pocket.
Yeah, Geno's always been kind of hot and cold. He's gotten a better grasp on how to get a baseline down over the last few years, but he's a good, smart veteran quarterback. If you get pressure on him, though, if you can cover up his guys, you'll have a good day. He's not going to be a disaster, but you can slow him down a bit, right? It's kind of like playing Ryan Tannehill or any of those guys where they're just good, solid veteran quarterbacks, and if you leave huge spaces in zone, he's going to find it. So I would expect that there's going to be a lot of man coverage this week.
Yep, and I think they're going to try to speed him up as well. They're going to try to get after him and not,
Absolutely.
make him throw the ball away. All right, Week 8 matchups to watch. This from Pro Football Focus, and this one will be important. Amari Cooper against the Seahawks' Devin Witherspoon. On Sunday, Cooper will face the league's highest-graded cornerback, and he's a rookie. Witherspoon has fantastic feet and is fearless making plays in the run game. For whatever reason, I've seen several Seahawk games, and that guy flashes. You'll see him right away making plays, being Devin Witherspoon.
Yeah, he's a great player. I really like him. They got him in the first round, top 5 pick. He's playing like it, right? So, yeah, I think that's going to be a good matchup. But the thing with going up against Amari Cooper, if you're a rookie cornerback, is those are the guys who can get you when you're a rookie, right? Is the veteran guys. Like, I'm going to run this route and put this thing in. Those are the guys who can teach you a couple of lessons, right? The more athletic guys where it's just rip it and play, you might not get got, right? He did a good job against Jamar Chase when he played against him. But a guy like Amari Cooper, he's not going to try to outrun you. He can't outrun you. He can't outrun you. What he's going to try to do is outthink you, and that's where it's impossible to be on the same level as Amari Cooper as a rookie. So it's going to be an interesting matchup because for Devin, I think this is going to be different than what he's dealt with in the past because when it comes to playing chess at wide receiver, Amari Cooper is amongst the best of them. And if the Seahawks think that they're just going to throw Devin on him and call it a day, I think Amari could have a good day a bit unexpectedly because, again, this is going to become a chess battle for Amari, and I don't know if Devin can play chess on the level that Amari can.
We'll find out. We will find out without question. All right, Frank Clark from Glenville High School here in town passed his physical, and he's on his way to sign with the Seahawks. A possibility that he could play against the Browns this Sunday. That's from Josina Anderson. So they signed Frank Clark, who actually was there a few years back before he went to the Chiefs. When you look at this Seahawks-Browns game, what are some of the matchups that concern you? What are some of the matchups you think the Browns can take advantage of?
Yeah, so I think the matchups that the Browns could take advantage of on the defensive side is I like their matchup against these wide receivers. DK Metcalf is a really big physical guy. It's going to be interesting to see who they throw at him because you would assume it would be Denzel Ward. But I would kind of be interested to see what you can get away with Martin Emerson on him because Martin's so good and physical with tight ends and covering DK is kind of like that. And the issues that you worry about with Martin where he doesn't have the greatest hip explosiveness, he can't change direction super fast, neither can DK. So I would test that matchup to see if you can get away with Martin there and have Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome on some other guys throughout the game. And I think that the pressure that the Browns defensive line will be able to create will be pretty impactful to this game as well. When it comes to the offensive side of the ball, I don't know, people ain't gonna like this. PJ gonna have to throw that thing a little bit, man. Like PJ gonna have to get back there and make some throws. I think that matchup, Devin Witherspoon versus Amari Cooper, is going to be interesting. And look for Elijah Moore. Hey, look, we've been looking for him, asking about him. We've been getting voicemails about him every time I'm on here, except this week where he stepped up in the fourth quarter. He was huge, instrumental in that fourth quarter effort to win that game on a field goal drive and on the game-winning drive. So Elijah Moore is also somebody I look out for because it seems like stuff started to click with him. He even caught that screen and went upfield. Like, I was like, okay, this is who they thought they had in training camp. So, yeah, Elijah Moore, Amari Cooper, I like their matchups, and I think that PJ Walker is good for one insane out of his mind game every season. He kind of does this every time he plays. Like, he had that game last year. He had the game the year before. He will have an insane out of his mind game. Whether it will be this week, I don't know, but I'm telling you, we start PJ Walker enough, he going to put up a 90 plus PFF grade game for no reason that nobody's expecting him to have. And it might be this week. So who knows?
What's the blueprint? How do they come away with a win? This is a tough place to play without question. Loud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to take the crowd out the game, which means long drives on offense, long sustained 5, 6, 7-minute drives, and 3 and outs on defense as much as possible, right? You do that, you take away the 12th man, you make your field goals, you take away the 12th man, and you just got to wear them out and take away their home field advantage. This is going to be a game that's going to be primarily one on defense and then help along the edges on offense. I think this is going to be a low-scoring effort. Both teams under 20. I think the first team to get to 20 probably wins this game. So you want to just slow the game down, make sure the pace is slow. But if you're getting 3 and outs and you're not getting 3 and outs on defense, this crowd's going to be into it. It's going to be hard to play. They're going to have all the energy going, and it's going to be a difficult spot. It's a tough game, man. This is a team tied for first place or close to tied for first place in a very tough division in the NFC West. So this is not going to be no gimme game here. Nobody should be walking in here thinking they're just going to show up and win. This is going to be a really tough test. If they win this game, though, Dave, with everything else that's been going on, that gives me confidence for the rest of the season that I don't care what's going on with the whole quarterback thing. We're going to be able to win a lot of games this year.
Quincy Carrier, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Quincy.
No problem, Dave. You have a great day.
Quincy Carrier, make sure you check him out. Untitled, unfiltered Browns coverage, always really good stuff. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. Jackson McCurry, the Dawgland podcast. Straight ahead. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
This is the 50, 100, 500 scratch-off from the Ohio Lottery. A much cleaner way of winning. We precision-crafted 3 perfect increments of cash, $50, $100, and $500, and created the only game that pays exclusively in those increments. Hence the clever name. 50, 100, 500. Ideal quantities for dining foods, clothing wear, or stereophonics. The simplicity is breathtaking. Play 50, 100, 500, and transform how you feel about winning.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
And educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams, I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
We continue talking Browns on Sports for CLE. Truth and Reason.
Hey, love the show. Big Browns fan. Just not sure if P.J. Walker is the answer. This dude is not good at all. I mean, granted, we're 2-0 with him, but our defense has had a lot to do with that. Myles Garrett got his points. The dude misses throws more than he hits throws. He's had wide open receivers in both games to drive down the field, and he can't seem to hit them. But for me, personally, he's just not the guy. If you're going to back up somebody for Deshaun Watson, P.J. Walker is not the guy. Why not give DTR some run? He's the guy you drafted. Give him some run. Let him get some work and see what he can do. Because if you ask me, P.J. Walker is just too inconsistent for me. Go Browns. Hoo, hoo, hoo.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. Let's welcome in Jackson McCurry from the Dawgland podcast. Jackson, I've said it this way. There are a couple of plays every game, 3 or 4, where you go, man, how did he do that? And I'm talking about P.J. Walker. And then there are probably just as many plays where you go, oh, why did he do that? And I'm not ready. DTR, I don't think the game did not slow down. He was a little overwhelmed against the Ravens. I don't think you can go back to that with a team that's 4-2 and right in the middle of the playoff hunt in the AFC.
Yeah, I mean, there's reasons why P.J. Walker was in the XFL a couple years ago, and he was primarily a backup throughout his NFL career. DTR, I was at the game. He was very overwhelmed. Obviously, when you get the call 2.5 hours before game time that you're going to start, granted, he did take all the reps in practice that week prior, but obviously he wasn't very prepared. I don't think that's fully on him, but they're sticking with P.J. Walker at this point. I think, they're not going to go back to DTR barring an injury to Walker at this point. I think he was overwhelmed. I think he needs more time to develop. Do I think he can be the long-term backup here? Sure. But I think the Browns are set with going with P.J. Walker until Deshaun Watson's back and ready to play. I thought maybe we could see DTR again, but he does the same things P.J. Walker does. You might as well go with the vet with this team, and as talented as this team is, you need to have some kind of a veteran back there at this point. Yeah, I mean, right now they're a playoff team. You can't say, well, let's see what the rookie has at this point. And again, you're not getting great play from P.J. Walker, but he is 2-0. I mean, bottom line is he's winning games. Win is a win. You know what they call a win when the quarterback plays ugly in the NFL? A win. And that's all that matters. Take a look at this chart. This is concerning. It's a quarterback success chart following plays where they got hit. So the x-axis across is plays following a quarterback hit within the same game, and the y-axis success rate following a quarterback hit. The guy in the bottom left-hand corner where you don't want to be is P.J. Walker. You see Deshaun Watson is above normal. Baker Mayfield a little bit below him. Tua and Dak Prescott way above him. Sam Howell and Russell Wilson up there as well. But again, it's just one of those data things that's really interesting. He gets popped, and the next play is not great. Yeah, he has definitely struggled the last couple of weeks after he's gotten hit. The one good thing from that chart is that Deshaun's had success, even though he's gotten hit. And he got hit plenty the first few weeks of the season. So, yeah, P.J. Walker has not been successful, but yet, like you said, he has found a way to get this team to win. Granted, the defense has helped, special teams has helped, but Walker has made some throws when needed. That one to Elijah Moore on the game-winning drive. So he's done some good things, but he's also done some very bad things at the same time. And when quarterbacks get hit, some guys can bounce back from it, but a lot of them get rattled, and that's unfortunate. But this is the NFL, and the elite ones seem to bounce back from those hits, and the poor ones, like PJ, tend to stay at the bottom. All right, Deshaun Watson talked about how the injury to his throwing shoulder is different than most football injuries, and especially the ones he's overcome.
I mean, I played with injuries before. Being a quarterback, you have to throw the ball. In the day, I have a blessed ability to be able to run the ball and extend plays and things like that. But every quarterback don't need that. If if it was my left shoulder, then I can still use my right shoulder. But since I can't use my right shoulder, and that's my throwing arm, You know, it's hard to direct balls. It's hard to get the ball where I want it to get to, pass a certain amount with a certain velocity while defenders is running around. So, I mean, it's the one thing that I need to play the position at a high level, especially. So, you know, like I said before, it's like asking a receiver without a hamstring to go run. I mean, it's crazy. You know, you can't do that.
And again, that's the reason that they, you know, he clearly couldn't do what he needed to do against the Colts. I don't think they knew that. They definitely found it out against the Colts.
Yeah, I mean, there was optimism last week towards the end in practice where, you know, the reporters were saying there was more velocity on the throws on the Friday portion of practice. But when you got out there on Sunday in the opening couple drives against the Colts, you could see that that velocity wasn't there. He couldn't put any zip on the ball. It just did not look like he was there. And now you're seeing that he still has pain and weakness in his shoulder. You know, a lot of people want to try to compare this to the Baker Mayfield situation. Baker, it was his non-throwing shoulder. This is the throwing shoulder of Deshaun. So you know he's not going to be 100%. He's not going to be the quarterback that the Browns thought they were getting. So he can't be out there. He made a good comparison. If you have a receiver with a bad hamstring, you're not going to expect him to be his normal self. I mean, Kareem Hunt was limited against the Colts with a thigh, but he pushed through. But I don't think Deshaun could push through with that shoulder injury. He threw an interception. He almost threw a second interception. So I just think it would have got worse had he not got hit and continued to play. I just think it would have been a bad performance, and things only would have got worse for Deshaun in that aspect then.
Yeah, and keep in mind, Baker Mayfield came out and said, I'm playing. It's my call. I'm playing. That's the other thing. So, all right. I get tired of talking about the similarities and the differences between them. All right, Myles Garrett, T.J. Watt. Take a look at this stat comparison. Marcus Mosher tweets this out. So Myles Garrett has played less snaps. He has more pressures, same amount of QB hits, more hurries, same amount of sacks, according to PFF. More forced fumbles, better win rate, higher rate in PRP, TPS win rate, almost double. The bottom line is he's played about 50 less snaps, and it's helped keep him fresher. And Myles Garrett is outperforming T.J. Watt by quite a bit.
Yeah, this is the never-ending debate between Browns fans and Steeler fans. It seems like no matter what the national praise that Myles Garrett gets, you see Steeler fans in the comment section talking about, well, T.J. Watt has more sacks, and he has this, and he has that. But the stats back it up this year. Myles Garrett has been the better player. I mean, you see the numbers he's putting up in 51 less pass rushing snaps than Watt. And he's been so dominant on the field. That's not to take away the player of TJ Watt's caliber. He is a great player too. I think it's so funny that it's always the Myles Garrett, TJ Watt debate, but then no one ever brings up Nick Bosa or Micah Parsons, all these great pass rushers. It always comes down to Myles and TJ, but they're both great players. But at the end of the day, the stats back it up. Myles has been the better player this year. And this debate will go on to the end of their careers. They were both drafted in the same draft class. It's the Browns and Steelers rivalry, so that's always going to get brought up. But right now, the stats back it up. Myles is the better defensive player. And I think overall, Myles has been the better defensive player in his career because people tend to forget TJ has more stats padded up when you compare the two for their careers. But Myles missed games with injury, the unfortunate suspension in 2019. But Myles has just been so dominant, and the stats back it up for sure.
Jackson McCurry from the Dawgland podcast. Now I'm going to step aside, take one more time out. We'll head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason, talk a little bit more about the Seahawks. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
This is the 50, 100, 500 scratch-off from the Ohio Lottery, a much cleaner way of winning. We precision-crafted 3 perfect increments of cash, $50, $100, and $500, and created the only game that pays exclusively in those increments. Hence the clever name. 50, 100, 500. Ideal quantities for dining foods, clothing wear, or stereophonics. The simplicity is breathtaking. Play 50, 100, 500 and transform how you feel about winning.
We continue talking Browns with Jackson McCurry from the Dawgland podcast. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hello, Dave. This is Larry, big Browns fan. What's the cost for the Browns just to release Watson and if some other team picks him up? Are the Browns still liable for the full amount of money? Just thinking.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails, Jackson. The cost is $230 million. Guaranteed is guaranteed. Somebody else could pick him up for the minimum, but Browns are still paying the guaranteed portion of that contract, which is all of it.
Yeah, I had this talk with Jack Duffin today talking about, like, what if the Browns traded Deshaun Watson? Like, what would happen? And it's like this offseason would be a significant dead cap penalty if they traded him during the offseason. I don't think they can trade him really now. But it's pretty significant. I don't see the Browns ever cutting Deshaun. Unfortunately, we're stuck with him right now. So hopefully, once Deshaun's healthy again, he gets back and stacks performances like he did against Tennessee and turns out to be the quarterback we all envisioned he'd be with the trade. But yeah, the release is never going to happen. I don't think a trade's going to happen anytime soon either. We just got to hope for the best at this point. We hope Watson gets healthy, comes back and performs well, knocks off that rust, and hopefully gets the Browns offense going in the right direction. It hasn't turned out so well so far, but we're not getting rid of him anytime soon. So to the Browns fans that want to get rid of him, we're stuck for a little bit.
He's hurt. I mean,
yeah,
he's hurt. He is legitimately hurt. All right, let's turn our attention to the Seattle Seahawks. Jim Schwartz talked about Kenneth Walker, their really good young running back.
You just put the tape on, and it's impressive. And his numbers, like if you just judge him on his stats, 4.1 yards a carry. I don't know where that ranks in the league, but it's probably not like, top 10. But you put his film on, and it gets your attention right away. The broken tackles, he's really hard to bring down. He's got quickness, and he has power, and he can threaten all the edges of your defense. Just because you have him hemmed up doesn't mean he's, that you got him completely bottled in. He can go all the way out the back door. He's really good at setting his blocks up. He's really an outstanding young player. And, some of our things that we struggled with against the Colts, particularly the inside run game and allowing them to control the game with the run. And when we played well on defense, particularly Titans and 49ers, after that first drive against the 49ers, we were able to control the second down game. So we're going to have our work cut out for him, or work cut out for us.
And Jackson, I don't want to say he's quite at the level of Jonathan Taylor. He's very similar. I mean, the missed tackling they had, if they tackle like that, it's going to be a long Sunday afternoon for him in Seattle.
Yeah, definitely. Walker's one of the most talented backs in the league. You've seen that coming out of Michigan State. You knew how talented he was going to be. It was a surprise, I think, at the time that Seattle had drafted him because they had Rashad Penny and some other running backs. But Walker emerged quickly and proved that was a good pick by the Seahawks, as they've tended to do during the Pete Carroll era. But, yeah, he's going to be a tough one to bring down. You got to hope that the tackling is much improved because last week they definitely struggled at times trying to bring down Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss. I thought they did somewhat better in the second half, but yeah, they can't let the running attack get off to a hot start for Seattle because that'll just open things up for the pass attack that they have. And Geno Smith's been struggling the last couple of weeks, but this could be a game where if the running game gets going, Geno Smith could, get hot, and there's plenty of talent for him to throw around to, including Walker out of the backfield. So this is going to be a tough task, I think, for the Browns defense, but I'm confident Jim Schwartz will have a solid game plan heading into Sunday.
So what's the recipe? What's the formula for the Browns to get a win in Seattle? Tough place to play.
I think they got to force some turnovers. I think it's going to be just like it was at Indy. This is an offensive line that it can get exposed by the Browns defense. They've only allowed 13 sacks, but you look at the game that they had against Cincinnati a couple weeks ago. Cincinnati's defense got after them, forced Geno to throw a couple interceptions. He got sacked 4 times. So I think the defense has to come out swinging. be dominant, force some turnovers, maybe even another defensive touchdown like they did against the Colts. It's going to be a tough task, I think, for the Browns offense, because the Seahawks defense has been pretty good this year. You guys talked about Witherspoon earlier in the show. Bobby Wagner, I think, being back there really helped solidify the defense. They got Jordan Brooks in the middle as well. They got some quality edge rushers up front. So this is going to be a tough task. I think it'll be a low-scoring game just because our defense has been good all season, and I think it's going to continue that way. I think they'll force Geno to make some bad decisions. It's going to be a low-scoring game. I don't know if the Browns come away with a victory, but I'm sure they will put up a fight for 60 minutes for sure.
Take a look at this before we go. So teams that start out the season 4-2 in the NFL end up making the playoffs 76% of the time, 76.5 actually. So there you go. The Browns 4-2, so they have a 76% chance of making the playoffs based on history.
Yeah, you got to feel good about it, even though this has been a wild 4-2 start for the Browns with all the chaos surrounding the team with the quarterback situation. But yeah, they're 4-2. I can't remember the last time the season started 5-2. I know it's going to be a tough task against Seattle, but the way this defense has been going, the way they've still been able to have a strong running game without Nick Chubb, I think it bodes well. If they can get the passing game going, this Browns team is good enough. You got to get Deshaun healthy. Maybe they make a trade by next Tuesday to solidify a position, whether it's receiver, offensive line, running back, maybe something on defense, although I think the defense is pretty solid. The Browns are in position to go to the playoffs again, Dave. You know, they're 4-2. History says that they're going to make the playoffs at this point, but there's still that 23 point whatever percent that says they might not make it. So we got a long way to go, but you definitely got to feel good about the Browns to a degree so far throughout the season.
Yeah, and the one thing I'd say, they're 4-2 and they haven't played. They haven't really played as well as they're capable of. Jackson McCurry, Dawgland podcast, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Jackson.
Always appreciate the time, Dave. Thank you.
Jackson McCurry, make sure you check him out, the Dawgland podcast. That's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow at 4 on Sports for CLE.